together with Dr. Thomas Krijnen about our paper on IFC5 for collaborative and traceable circularity in construction. This is not working. Stella, it's not working.
It's
Well, but I don't see anything here.
yeah, because it's a PDF. PDF doesn't do both.
Okay.
So probably.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a circular construction part. Thomas is going to talk about IFC part. So this project is partially supported by the National Growth Fund in the Netherlands, in which we have interviewed the whole circular supply chain of facade industry to understand their needs from the digital perspective. And then we try to design certain to-be scenarios for them to be circular in the future. Can I go to the next slide?
You need to move the mouse to the screen and do the next. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
No.
It's a PDF.
Okay. Okay, so as we all know that for circular construction, we consider future buildings as our supplies systems for components. So we need to know what components exist, where they are, and their dimensions and conditions to be reused or remanufactured or recycled, and where they come from. So we need, from the data perspective and information system perspective, that they should be modular, traceable, and updatable. And that we can enable multiple stakeholders in the different life cycle stages of the projects. And this, Thomas is going to go back about the limitations. So what we did, PDF is not working. So we designed together with the circular supply chain for the facade industry, a realistic to-be scenario in which we designed a very simple scenario to showcase the technical capabilities of IFC5. In this scenario, we say that a social housing owner is going to demolish a building and then try to reuse the windows that is going to be reclaimed, and then going to be used for another building, in which there are 3 steps. First, the demolisher is going to update the conditions of the buildings, and then the architect is going to matchmake with the new building requirements, and the owners can embed these reused buildings in the new building model.
Yeah, and for this we build a prototype using IFC5. Now, and if you want to know more about IFC5, there is a presentation 2 days from now, which due to family medical situations will also be presented by me 2 days from now. So I will skip over the details of IFC5 mostly, but it was interesting that Tong said that I would go back to the limitations of IFC4, the prevalent open standard for building information modeling, but it's actually kind of the negated version of the IFC5 principles. So the IFC4 model is, even though it is a graph, it is very hard to point to that graph from the outside or extract fragments of it or refer to bits from it. And in IFC5, the core ideas are really that information is more layer-based, so you actually can overlay data to come to a comprehensive view of how all disciplines think about the structure together. And layers here is really like Photoshop layers. This is kind of terminology from the computer graphics world. So it's not like I don't know, if you're familiar with Git, you talk about diffs, for example, to move from one state to the other, but it's really more like overlays. Like in Photoshop, you can also look at an individual layer in isolation, but you look at all the layers together to see the combined view. And this is how stakeholders can add their data. And can recombine without overwriting earlier information. And this is really one of the pain points in IFC4, that if you want to make a small change, yeah, you basically do have to send the entire model again. Anyway, but that's more for 2 days from now. Yeah, and then JSON and paths are quite important. So in addition to unique identifiers, there is like a tree in the model, and you can really granularly attach data to different bits in the tree. Wrong button. So, and I should stay in focus. Yeah, in order to do some prototyping, what we did is map this lightweight JSON exchange structure to a database schema. So you can really see there is the, yeah, let's say the user administrative things, such as a user and a project, and they can create snapshots of immutable state, you know, to still sign off on bits. And then the core part is the layers. We mentioned them. Think of them as Photoshop layers, and they contain the data as primitives. Yeah, and primitives have attributes. That's like the domain-specific information. That could be, yeah, I don't know, this wall is load-bearing, or I don't know, the color is red. And then on the top right, there is inheritance and children, and that's like the universal way to encode information. Children is decomposition, inheritance is data reuse across nodes. So this is the prototype we built with Django, a quite widely used Python framework that neatly translates the database into a front-end application. And here you can see the primitives and the children edges. Okay, a quick demonstration. So on the left, a public building model. The bottom, a query extracting just the windows. And this is not really a query in the sense that you retrieve information. This is really a valid model subset. That was something that was so difficult in IFC4 to really, let's say, extract a bit of information that is relevant for your use case, a clean demarcation of the data that you need. That in IFC5, that is trivial, because it's really just this concatenation of atomic blocks of information. So it's, yeah, the filtering is really evident. And then this data is reused in another, well, I don't know, maybe you can't call it a building, but it's really a conceptual demonstration, but it's reused in another context. And so going back to the scenario, here in the right, you can see it in full. So adding this additional domain-specific information and an additional layer where the data is connected just by means of sharing the same path. I try to illustrate that there in the top right. And then a query, to filter the data that's relevant for you. And then creating a new model, so in orange, that's model 2. Let's say there is a wall that has as a child a window, and that window just inherits from that old window. So we don't even copy it over. It just kind of, by provenance in this tree, gets, I don't know, it just suddenly becomes part of the new model without making a copy. So the provenance of the information, it was still authored as part of that previous layer. Nothing changes there. Back to you.
Okay, looking at the time, I try to be quick. The image doesn't work, sorry for that. So what we did in this research is basically translating the circular construction needs in a very simplified scenario and try to see how the new development of IFC5 could be of support. And we demonstrate that with simple features. The purpose is not to show a validated circular workflow, but rather to show the technical capabilities of the new development from IFC side. And of course, there are limitations, and we assume the same asset owner will be there. Of course, there will be governance issues if we really want to embrace the circular construction. So new development should be thinking about that, and also from the user perspective. For more details, we recommend you to read the full paper. Thank you.